April 8, 2022. Less than a year until Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie not the game, races into theaters. The sequel to probably the most surprising movie ever, in the sense that it was actually good despite all the early signs pointing towards it being a cinematic Sonic 06. And if you didn't realize that metaphor, it means disaster. Nevertheless, here we are now with arguably the best video game movie ever made. It was funny, charming, had a brilliant cast, and while it played itself safe, it was still a great and fun ride from beginning to end. It's no masterpiece by any means, but I never expected it to be. I went in wanting to have a fun time with my favorite character of all time on the big screen, and that's exactly what I got. And now here we are, facing the upcoming sequel to that movie, which is currently filming at the time I'm writing this script. However, it's the set photos I want to talk about, as they give us a possible direction in which the plot of the movie could go, and I want to try out a theory video and see who agrees with me on some of my thoughts. Before we begin, I do want to note that there are a ton of YouTubers who probably made theory videos about this movie, and with all due respect to them, I didn't have the chance to catch any of them. Again, no disrespect to the other guys, I just didn't find the time to check those out, so if I repeat something a previous YouTuber already said, apologies in advance. And while these are theories, I am putting a spoiler alert because who knows, if I happen to be right, I don't want people to cry over me spoiling the movie for them, even if it was unintentional. But okay, all the boring stuff is out of the way, let's start theorizing. Our first stop is this picture of the three reference models for Sonic, Tails and Knuckles, which confirms that Team Sonic is gonna be present in full force. We obviously knew Tails was gonna be in this movie thanks to the previous movie's mid-credit scene, but now we also have a confirmation that our rougher than the rest of them Echidna joins in on the fun. And on a side note, yes, he looks great. Knuckles' appearance shouldn't be too much of a surprise as we saw Echidnas at the start of the first movie, implying we would have seen him at some point. In the games, Knuckles is the last of the Echidna tribe. Unless you count Sonic Chronicles, but let's be honest, who does? And as the last of his kind, he swore to protect the Master Emerald from anyone who would try to use it for their selfish needs. What would his beef with Sonic be then? Here's where things start getting interesting. The ending for the first movie showed us Robotnik, or Eggman, whatever you prefer, being stuck on the mushroom planet Sonic planned escaping to in case someone discovered him on Earth. Many were to point out that this mushroom planet could be none other than Mushroom Hill Zone from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So what if Knuckles were to meet Robotnik here? And then the traditional Robotnik tricks Knuckles gag starts. Remember, Robotnik still has Sonic's skull from the previous movie, which would help Knuckles believe Sonic did send him to that planet on purpose. Knuckles must be aware of Sonic's power considering his ancestors knew about it, and they also saw Sonic escape through a ring. Points lead to the second movie borrowing a few ideas from the third game. That will be Knuckles' deal, but what about Tails? We know he came to Earth looking for Sonic, but the question we don't know is, why? When Tails arrives on Earth, he claims that
I just hope I'm not too late.
which means he needs to find Sonic for a very specific reason. What could that reason be? My idea is that whoever sent Tails to find Sonic is an Echidna. But how could that be, I hear you asking? They tried kidnapping Sonic from Longclaw at the start of the first movie. Yeah, that is correct, but who said they are necessarily bad guys? Longclaw constantly warns Sonic about his power making him a target, and that people will always try and take that away from him. What if she knew exactly why the Echidnas want Sonic for? Why would she raise him in fear someone would see him one day? She was keeping Sonic away from a danger, which the Echidnas wanted Sonic to solve. What would that danger be? How about a mural on the wall which could imply Sonic is destined to save their precious Master Emerald from something, exactly like the one from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The Echidnas were after Sonic in order to train him for the time his power would save them all. When Sonic escaped, their plans were basically ruined unless they could find a ring and search for him in another world. This leads them to trust Tails, the tech-savvy, to look for him as the fate of their world is at stake. Meanwhile, Knuckles is also on the lookout for Sonic, continuing his ancestor's mission until he meets Eggman, who tells him Sonic may not be their hero, but their villain. This will eventually lead to all three meeting up, and with the help of Tom and Maddie, they fight Robotnik, who reveals that he tricked Knuckles all along, as he wants to get his revenge on Sonic and Tom, basically what you would expect from a sequel. However, as I was thinking about this possibility, something hit me which might have been a question forming in your mind too. If what I said is true, and the Echidnas wanted to use Sonic in order to save the world, wouldn't it make Longclaw, Sonic's guardian, a bad guy? My answer to that question is... you know what, maybe she is. I mean, think about it. We barely see her in the first movie, and we don't know much about her outside of the fact that she raised Sonic and is worried about him. Making her an antagonist, in case what I'm saying is right, wouldn't be that much of a stretch considering she wasn't really established as any type of character. Hell, it's even debatable if she's still alive. Maybe in her will to protect Sonic, she forgets that he could actually use his power for a good cause. The first film also touches on that when Sonic begins to question if she was even right to begin with.
I know I have to leave Earth to be safe, but what if Longclaw was wrong? Maybe I could have a life here.
And by the end, he makes the conscious decision to use his power to protect his friends, instead of keeping himself out of harm and running away. Maybe this movie would focus on Sonic becoming more of his own person, instead of living by someone else's rules. Longclaw wants him safe, the Echidnas and Tails want him to save them, Tom and Maddie could potentially worry about him leaving Earth, each one of them wants Sonic on their side, but then one could ask, what is Sonic's side? Sonic in the games was always the kind of hero that didn't live by any rules, he just did what he saw as right, even admitting in Black Knight that he has no problem being seen as the bad guy as long as he is doing the right thing. In the first movie, Sonic's character arc was growing from a loner kid afraid of the world to a confident hero who would stop at nothing to save his friends, like his game counterpart. There's a chance the sequel could develop him even more into the doing what's right no matter what hero, who would never give up the fight no matter who is wrong and who is right. With all of that said, there's another thing I want to point out, which may seem like a cool reference, but could also foreshadow events in this movie and a potential sequel. But let's start with the evidence. Some helicopters and tanks on set have been branded with the gun logo from the games, and one of the choppers has the initials SA2 on it, which are the initials of Sigma Alpha 2 and of course Sonic Adventure 2. To the two of you watching who don't know that game story, Eggman unleashes his grandfather's top secret military weapon, who happens to be none other than the fan favorite edgelord Shadow the Hedgehog. Through a bunch of events I won't go into now, Gunn arrested Eggman's grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, sealed Shadow away, and killed Gerald's granddaughter Maria. These events took 50 years before the game's main story starts. Why is that important? Well, Maddie mentions in the first movie that Wachowski protected Green Hills for 50 years in the role of sheriff.
I mean, there's been a Wachowski protecting this town for more than 50 years.
Not that random of a number when you ask a Sonic fan to look at this one line, right? Also, Robotnik mentions to Tom that he's an orphan.
Rub that in my orphan face.
Which means he probably grew up with other relatives like, I don't know, his grandfather? And why would the government in the first movie be so hesitant on bringing Robotnik on the case? Yeah, he's an oddball as is, but who said there can be more to it? Like a crazy grandfather who went insane. Where am I going with this? Well, who said they can build us up towards a Sonic Adventure 2 big screen adaptation? We have a slight hint in the first movie that Chaos Emeralds do in fact exist in this universe. If my theory regarding Knuckles and the other Echidnas is correct, and if the Sonic Adventure 2 Easter eggs aren't coincidental, maybe they could lead us to that popular theory that Gerald knew of the Echidnas and studied them, leading him to the mural I mentioned before, which would inspire Shadow's appearance. However, I don't think Shadow would be in the second movie. This is the point where my third film theory starts up. After Sonic beats Robotnik in the first movie, we get a tease that he still holds on to Sonic's quill in the Mushroom Planet. What if the tease this time around is that he finds his grandfather's biggest project, the Ultimate Life Form? That would put Sonic up against his perfect match and yet his complete opposite for a supposed final part of a trilogy. The seeds might be planted in this second movie, but we won't see it happening until a third film, should one even happen. And that's where my theory ends. All that's left to do is ask, what do you guys think? Agree? Disagree? Skeptical? Holes that you noticed? Would you like some of this to be true? Let me know in the comments, but please be mature about it. It's just a theory at the end of the day, and whether or not this ends up being correct, I can't wait to see what this movie has in store for our beloved Blue Blur. April 8, 2022 is still a bit far away, but personally, I can't wait to speed into theaters again and see how Sonic the Hedgehog's big screen adventure unfolds.